We're going to swing this thing over to the AFC. Texans, Patriots are going to feature two young quarterbacks in CJ Stroud and Drake Maye. We pick this game now. Who do we like better, the Pats or the Texans, RC?
I like the Houston Texans. I don't expect CJ to have some of the issues he had with the snap and fumbling in the pocket this week. I think this is going to be a huge defensive battle, but that front of the Houston Texans, the hitting ability and lateral quickness of those backers, and that back end in a way that they turn the football over. I think the Houston Texans win a close one in Foxborough.
Cam, who you like?
I'm going with New England Patriots. Drake Maye and co has been playing at a high level all year, and I don't too much or haven't heard of the situation with Nico Collins. Will he be available or not, getting cleared for the concussion? All those things considered, I have to go with the hot team at home. And given, what we've seen from CJ Stroud, it's going to come down to how he performs in that type of dynamic, given that the defense that he has and that he's equipped with will give him opportunity. Does he maximize on those opportunities is the biggest question.
Okay.
I've been raving about the Houston Texans all year long because their defense is real. It is spectacular, make no mistake about it. But CJ Stroud hasn't been himself, and we know that. We know the guy that was lights out in year one, he hasn't been that guy for a while. And even though I believe in him and I believe his future is still very, very bright, I think this is a tall task, particularly with Nico Collins going out. It wasn't just once, but twice he had to leave the game the other night, RC. You remember that because of, from some that concussion feeling, and you need him. But I also think we got to take a moment to talk about New England from the standpoint. It's not just about Drake Maye. It's about Diggs and Henry in the intermediate game. It's about Boutte and Williams with the deep game. It's about Stevenson and Henderson running the football. They've got some weapons, and if you remember, looking at Houston at times when they have, on a rare occasion they have struggled, it's when they've had to go against a quarterback with the ability to run. That was not Aaron Rodgers on Monday night, obviously, but that will be Drake Maye this weekend. And I think that ultimately it will be a close game. Please don't get me wrong, because the defense is going to make it that way. I consider it to be a low-scoring game, but I also think there's a lot for Houston to overcome in terms of their offensive deficiencies. The defense is going to do its job. I don't know if the offense can. And all New England's going to be able to do is make a couple of plays to win. It wouldn't be surprising to me at all if this was one of those 13-10 games, 16-13 games, something like that. But I do expect New England to walk away victorious.
Nico Collins is still in concussion protocol, so that's not to say he can't be cleared by the time game time happens on Sunday, but it's not looking likely considering he is still in the protocol. I feel like all we've said all season long is that the Pats are not tested. Even against the Chargers, it felt like maybe that was a weaker link in the Chargers. They're finally going to be tested against the Houston Texans, and I think they deliver. So I think the Pats win on Sunday. Coming up on First Take, what single factor will Monday's
air though? So I don't understand why you're bringing up stuff that happened off air when we're talking about a gaffe that you had while we were on air.
That's right.
Well, I didn't know we were on the air. I was trying to clean up the studio.
Well, you didn't know we were on the air because you didn't have your earpiece in. Meanwhile, Smalls and I are sitting here ready for the segment to start.
We're ready to go.
On Sportsman, it's presented by Progressive Insurance. Bundle home, auto, and save. Visit progressive.com.
He always does that, right? When somebody points out the flaws, he wants to point out something else in them.
Classic
this was not a
deflection.
flaw by me. I even think Nuno would defend me on this, believe it or not.
This guy.
Always.
He never wants to take the L. Always wants to throw somebody else under the bus.
Jar. No excuses.
He's laughing.
He's
itching his nose. He's itching his nose to cover his mouth.
It's a cheese ball way to try to deflect away from what we're saying.
Once again.
Exactly.
I'm a cheese ball.
Okay. First down.
First down.
We just talked about this a little bit with Harry Douglas. CC, Chicago expecting temps under 10 degrees and winds of more than 10 miles per hour. It could be one of the coldest games in NFL history between the Bears and the Rams. Is this a huge advantage for Chicago?
Yeah, it's a huge advantage, especially with the way that Chicago wants to play. They want to slow it down. They want to run the football. There's a reason why this team has been really, really successful, and it's because of their reliance on the run game. They're top 5 in rush attempts, top 3 in yards. This favors them in terms of what the weather is going to be. In cold weather, it's always harder for skill position players, mainly pass catchers, because the ball gets slick. And of course, it's harder to catch. And so, yeah, I think the run game is going to loom large, and whoever can run it most effectively is going to have the better chance of being able to get the win.
Yeah, I think in general it would favor the Bears. I also am not going to say that the Rams don't present as a cold weather team relative to, they don't play in the cold weather. Stafford's played in the cold weather his whole career, obviously before LA. Devontae played it in Green Bay. In the NFC North, he didn't play in the cold weather?
He had every home game was in a dome.
I understand.
He only had 2 games that were outside in the division.
But he played at Green Bay, at Chicago.
Once a year.
Okay, I'm just saying he's played. It's Matthew Stafford. I'm not worried about Matthew Stafford in the cold. And Devontae played home games, obviously, at Green Bay. I don't think they present as a as a warm weather team that aren't tough. I think the Rams are tough. I think their defense is tough. I think they play in warm weather. It should favor the Bears, absolutely. I also don't worry about the Rams in that big moment. I worry more about the Stafford injuries being able to throw the football.
Everyone wants to defer to last year in Philly. I looked it up. It was 35 degrees. It was snowy, but it was 35 degrees. That's very different.
A lot different than 2 degrees.
Very different than 2 degrees with those winds coming off the lake.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
That's the other thing that we got to talk about with the passing game, with the wind gusts being upwards of 30, 40 miles an hour. That is going to be problematic for the passing game, too. So, again, it's about which team can control the line of scrimmage through the running game. And I think it's advantage Chicago when it comes to that particular part of the matchup.
Next one.
Second down.
Seattle won the division and the number 1 seed in a 13-3 win over the 49ers back on January 3rd. That was the lowest scoring output for the Niners since they lost 23-3 to Carolina. That was actually Kyle Shanahan's debut back in 2017. Can Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco make enough adjustments to avoid the same fate, Evan?
Yeah, because I believe they have the better coach, the better quarterback. And I understand how great Mike McDonald has been. Unbelievable start to the career. Same like on that D'Amico Ryans kind of path of awesome starts. And Darnold's been great this year. Banged up with the oblique. But I am going to believe in Brock Purdy. And I think there is something to be said about if they pull this off somehow, some way, and Brock Purdy would find his way back into another NFC Championship game. What would that be, 3 in 5 years in a career? If I'm getting my math right on this, that's insane.
Especially with all the injuries they sustained this year?
Yes. So I am relying on that guy, number 13 in San Francisco, because he comes up big in the biggest of moments. And when you see some of their losses, their big losses over the last few years, no one has pointed at him. He's showed up big in those big spots. I'm all in on Purdy. I think they absolutely can make these adjustments.
Yeah, I just wonder if attrition catches up with the 49ers. George Kittle being out is a huge blow. Fred Warner's not going to come back and play, even though he was back to practice this week. Jair Brown is going to be ruled out. Remember, D. Winters got hurt in the wild card game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Ricky Pearsall is banged up with the knee. They've just got so many injuries, and I don't know how that's going to bode for them going up against a really physical Seattle Seahawks outfit, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Give me the Seattle Seahawks.
Next one.
Third down.
The Patriots averaged an AFC best 28.8 points per game this season. The Texans have the NFL's top-ranked defense. CC, which unit will get the best of the other in this matchup?
Oh, the Texans' defense is the best unit remaining in the postseason. There's a reason why this team has won 10 straight, and it's their defense. They scored not once but twice against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the fourth quarter at Acrisure Stadium on Monday night. I just think that this Texans defense is going to be able to dominate the offensive line and overwhelm Drake